verdorben. Mein Name, mein Leid, mein Reich, mein Wille, mein Fluch über mich und außer mir. Täglich hungert der Leib und dürstet die Seele. Ich ertrage die Schuld, ich ertrage die Beschuldigungen, denn ich bin in Versuchung und kenne keine Erlösung. Denn mein ist das Leid, die Mut und das Streben bis zum Tod. Amen.
What you got to do is walk around with a cocky look on your face and not give a fuck about some of these people. That's why I have my rule, live and let live, but don't force it down my throat. And my saying for that is when a rat's ass should be offered or given. You can't really give a rat's ass because the ass of the rat is not really, the ass of this rodent isn't really yours to give. It belongs to that rodent, you know what I mean? So let that rat keep his ass, but yet, they can't dictate to you when a rat's ass should even be offered or given. And so if the rat's ass being offered up means you're willing to play ball with him a little bit and tolerate something, and try to reason things out, and tolerate them and play the game, that's called offering up the rat's ass. And you're doing them a favor by offering up the rat's ass. You don't have to give a rat's ass, Yeah, so it's all about presentation. When the rat's ass should be offered or given, Alright, what's up, yins, guys? Time for another video. And because of the shit that I was seeing on morning news, and what the hell's their name now? They're all in high praise of one celebrity couple that said that their 12-year-old wants to live their truth and become a girl or whatever. And the two, what's their names? They're usually pretty cool. I've seen them on ABC station, like before our morning news comes on. You could either watch CBS This Morning, or Good Morning America, whether you're watching ABC or CBS, but anyway, yeah, one woman was talking about been high praise there. The toxic masculinity going on and all that. And I'm hearing shit like that, like all this often. You want to look up toxic masculinity. If you go and look on Google and what it really is, it's actually very specific in a lot of ways, covering a lot of your own personal rights. Even if you're not no transgender, if you don't worship at the feet of some transgender, it sure as hell has a lot of things which you can be as a male or whatever, or even a female, shame you out of everything else that you're right, they want to make wrong now. But there's a part of it that you can see where, yeah, I can understand the definition, like bullying somebody, always wanting to commit domestic abuse and be mean to women or whatever, or bullying other guys and being bully, that constant manliness stuff, so competitive where you're bully and violent. But they're making that in shit like it got basic training and strength is violent now, and they want you to be some even if you're not transgender or gay, they want everybody to have these skinny arms and have these t-shirts and shorts and maybe these pink shirts or whatever, and make everybody equal, and want everybody just because somebody turns into a girl and they identify as a girl, and they want to change from a guy to a girl, it's okay to dominate women's sport. Well, this is a thing, a point I'm trying to make. All right. Yeah, everybody keeps saying toxic masculinity, blah, 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 blah. But why isn't there a toxic femininity? You know what I mean? Everybody worships the transgender kineser, you know, it's going to get to a point where you don't bow down and you're going to be thrown into the fiery furnace. And this is not some typical transgender bashing video either. But says people can do what they want, but they don't tell me what to do. Tell me what my life is going to be. But there's also, okay, if somebody ain't a minor and it's somebody's choice, they're going to do what they want, no matter what. We established that, right? I don't give a shit. I have my life and they have theirs. But in their eyes, I'm transphobic anyway because I don't fall down and worship. I just walk around with a cocky look on my face and live my life the way I choose. You know what I mean? Could give a fuck less what anybody else does. But okay, you give it to them that, okay, if they want some dude wants to turn into a girl or identify, I don't give a shit, right? But there's a part of that nobody wants to hear. What about the part of it where, okay, so we established these people want the toxic masculinity, the bullying, and all right, the male dominance and all that. But what about, they don't even want to admit that there's these transgenders out there, for example, okay, if they can, I'm saying that if they can't get away with, there's ones out there that can't say they can't get away with that toxic masculinity the way they define it, okay? And some of those people revert to being a transgender and want to dominate women's sports, and then they want to, and say they have a desire to always commit domestic abuse and beat women up all the time, like you say. And they can't get away with that while they're a guy, right? Come on. You got to know there's ones that exists out there that want to turn into a transgender, right? Okay, I'm going to have a couple references I seen on videos, and I was even watching Ridiculousness, so I'm going to make a point if you bear with me, okay? Okay, say somebody can't get away with that as a dude, you know what I mean? And say they decide to, or they can't be dominant enough against other dudes either. You got dudes out there that ain't really that dominant over other dudes. They get their ass kicked all the time, right? But then they'll beat up their girlfriends or their wives real easy, but you know what I mean? But then you get some, then say they're aware, some of them are aware of this and they want to go, be a transgender and become a woman, and they can get away with beating other women if they identify as a woman, right? That's a little more dangerous than even the dominating women's sports thing. You know what I'm saying? Come on, there ain't ones out there that, okay, because I was watching, I don't know if any of you guys watch Ridiculousness on MTV. I mean, love the show. But there was like this thing that sticks in my head. That's another one of the things I make his videos for. And you guys have seen a lot of things on YouTube. And there's a lot of things that you've seen on YouTube. On Ridiculous, there's this particular thing. And okay, there's this one, I think that she's an actual woman. And there's this fat guy who's wearing, I think, some kind of bright colored pink shirt or whatever. And sleeves, but it's like real short. So his whole belly is showing. I evidently identify as a girl or something, and dragging this girl out of the car and beating her up. But if he was actually a dude, you know what I mean? That's more like a domestic abuse. But, well, okay, you can imagine when all this other culture, it's so expanding now, you could have two transgenders that used to be dudes, they're chicks that are identified as chicks, beating each other up. I mean, that's a little more on the fair scale, and I guess if police get involved, they can intervene, and who started it or whatever, or fine them both for disorderly conduct, or right? But you know, I watch that show for laughs, you know, I get a lot of laughs, but there was some other shit you guys could dig up on YouTube I seen, right? But then you're going to get one of these, like I seen on Ridiculousness, like everybody's laughing at it, but I think you got a lot of these dudes out there that walk around and actually identify as dudes, be dressing all like these fat guys or whatever, turning into girls, and they're dressing like their shirts all short and their stomachs showing, and these bright colored clothes like you're trying to be a heavy-set girl and they're actually a heavy-set dude, beating up this actual girl. Like, you know, that's a way in that if you can't get away with it on the one scale, nobody wants to hear that. Why is that? And then even when you say it's on videos, there's people rolling their eyes, or you got people that, social media influences now, people pick and choose their empathy and pick and choose what to, and these people want to pick and choose what to be outraged at. You know what I mean? What the fuck, you know? I mean, how is this bullshit? Not that you're hating on any particular group or whatever. And while you're with me on this video too, you see, so I do some of my things. It's too cold to be doing the splits out here now because you're not really supposed to do it in the real cold like it is now. But I'm not going to drag any of my fitness friends that are on YouTube that look at my videos on this issue, but I'm going to make a statement I like this too. For example, I do some of the stuff, and there's a few of my fitness friends, even on those social media, that they do all kind of other weightlifting, do stuff, and they admit I can beat them in splits, and there's a few other ones, if you're watching this, I can beat you in splits. And I'm making a reference too that I've made before, that I got fired from a industrial job where half the place was women. And I was just showing off doing some of my stuff, and some other dude with a beer belly and an attitude started an argument with me in a restroom, and all of a sudden I was doing things that were hazardous. Matter of fact, the job was more fucking hazardous than shit I was doing. But, you know, that's another issue too. You're supposed to be an obedient worker. You're not allowed to be strong any other kind of, or if you're on your own, you better keep it to yourself or keep it to the gym, or don't really project it or endorse it in there, because they'd rather not have you do it at all. But anyway, yeah, there was an idea where if I was talking to these advocates or arguing with them, right, or trying to have a civilized conversation with some feminist that says toxic masculinity, everybody should want to be any gender I want. Say I want to make an argument. I says, okay, this toxic masculinity you're talking about. Okay, I'll say, all right, this thing that you call toxic masculinity, I'm kind of agreeing it partially, but I never call it toxic masculinity. For example, dudes I got to deal with beer bellies and attitudes, you know, their manly voices trying to verbally intimidate you. If they can't physically intimidate you, like in workplaces, or jealous, like you're doing something, maybe workplace you're doing something too, you could get harassed for doing shit too well, right? So I'd be saying to some of them, right, this thing that you call toxic masculinity, I know I have a list of other kind of things that I call it, that probably roll their eyes at me, but I say, well, you know what I mean? I'll be saying, oh, your toxic masculinity thing. Is it anything like that shit that I just call the people damn assholes when other dudes be pulling shit to me with their manly voice, or some of them might have their, like, beards and beer bellies and their man shirts, and like in some of the workplaces you got the guys that, you know, the kind of guys that don't do no work, and they can get away with because of who they're related to, right? And they could threaten to have you fired this way, to get in your face, or, you know, they don't have any physical dominance over you, so to speak. You might have co-workers right next to you, dudes that might be more dangerous, that you can actually get your ass kicked. You have these other ones that are almost like, you do what you want, you're gonna go and punch me, that'll be the last thing you ever do, man. I'll speed down 911 and have you thrown in a cage. But anyway, but then you got, there's another type of, you want to call it toxic masculinity. There's some things common sense. You might have some bigger guy next to you, tattoos, steroids, or whatever. You got one that could be a pretty nice guy, but if you're stupid enough to be, an asshole, you get your ass kicked, right? But there's another kind of ones like that too, both black and white, that might be next to you somewhere, that are being dicks, and then you got to talk under your breath and, like, say something to a certain point that's the one thing that you don't want. You get these ones that you might have to just stay away from, or to a point, or don't give them any excuse, that they know that they can be dicks because, that they can beat you within inches of your life. And then you got ones that are pretty nice. You know what I mean? You've got, that shit that's dominating the streets, and different kind of criminal groups of different kinds too. You know what I mean? You can go on and on about that and expand it into crime and street violence and shit like that. But I was trying to keep it into potential workplace violence, and the wannabes you got to would be next to, and then you got the drug users, the ones that. I'm trying to give you the basic idea, like. What I was trying to say before I forget too, I got into the thing where, like I said, the workplace where half the place was women, right? I forgot to tell you this most important part if you get this far in this video before I got into the other subjects. One point I was trying to make where, I got fired for it because I got off, of course I got off track telling you because of the manly bullshit that's there that some of these people call toxic masculinity is on one side. We call it, somebody with a beer belly and an attitude. But before I got into those arguments with those kind in the restroom, right, I was doing, my stuff that I feature in my videos, but, in front of the women, just showing off. I had a lot of them as friends, right? And there was no harm in that, I should make a separate video on this, in case some of you guys didn't get this far. For example, yes, I was able to outdo them in splits and all that, and some of them ain't that old yet, they can get into it. But yet there's women out there and dudes that are better than me and professionally, absolutely, right? But there's this issue there too. I was showing off in front of them and maybe trying to prod along and maybe do some of it, and maybe I was get them to be interested in them for some other advantages out there that, you know what I mean? But, okay, since I was better than them at a lot of this, or better at some of my better at splits than some of my fitness friends. Okay, I'm categorizing women I worked with and fitness friends maybe on here, right? Say I can outdo them or you in splits. Some of you, not all of you. There's ones that could really do it. Does that give me the right to decide I want to identify as a chick, right? And say in a sport, dominate, like say if you guys were in a sport and dominate over you. I say no. No. Somebody else wants to do that shit, live that, I call it like a delusion, in a way. I don't know, in some ways it might work out. You might have to run some tests, some people, other people, whether they go to high school or college with, or a bunch of your friends or co-workers, get a dude and a chick, both have races, and then record. Maybe have 10 of them run and do races or do some kind of thing. See how many dudes win and how many chicks win to see if that's really fair. But, I almost think that they should have their own league, you know what I mean? But anyway, if you got this point, yeah, the reason why I say no, I'm saying that would be totally ridiculous. I learned shit off of some stuff that some women are doing that are actually better than me. That's why I put all the shit in the corner of the videos, right? But I think it would be ridiculous to be on the side of these people that want to change their gender so they can go in women's sports and dominate over it. But I'm not absolutely sure if every single one. There's actually biological women suing over it, and I think they have a right to sue, really. But I don't want to wish death on anybody either. But say the small scope of women that I can outdo in splits, right? Whether it's some fitness friends or some of the women that look in on my YouTube because I'm subscribed to them and they look in on me because I give them comments. Or women that I worked with, that half the place was women, right? And I was beating them at splits. I'm trying to make an example. Yeah, like I said, does that give me the right to decide that I'm going to be a chick and, I'm going to dominate over them? And I'm saying that there's room in that culture, you know what I'm saying? Say that in their own, in these feminists' own I'm pointing out the flaw in these diehard feminists where they're calling out all this toxic masculinity, which I admit it exists to a point, right? I'm not denying it exists, but like I said, I talk to one of them, I'll say, well, yeah, that thing you call toxic masculinity, I don't call it, I never thought of calling it toxic masculinity. I call it just some asshole with a beer belly and an attitude that I want to bitch slap a bit, you know what I mean, or punch him in the dang mouth, that I could lose my job or whatever. So, for what I admit it exists, but I'm saying that I'm not even hating on it if somebody in that defends all the transgender stuff wants to get that pissed off at me. I'm actually saying that, that's the flaw in the philosophy there. Not that you wish death on anybody that wants to become a chick or whatever, or some dude some chick that decides wants to be a male. That's not what this is for. You know what I'm saying? That if they're that worried about domestic violence or whatever, I say that there's actually a hole in that, philosophy, where these people that say they can't get away with domestic violence as a male, and they're not dominant enough in a male, they're not dominant enough at all in the male population. And maybe, they get their ass kicked among other guys, but they'll beat up girlfriends or wives. But say they become women instead, identify as women, and they dress up as women, they identify as women, and they get acknowledged as women, right? Then they can go get in these fights and just beat up on actual women. You know what I'm saying, then plus there's also the Silence of the Lambs scenario. But that doesn't fit the narrative of these other people, and then some of us that question things are supposed to just shut the fuck up, right? Just be like robots. This is the new culture that's being engineered and put into everybody's heads, and it wants to turn every single person as a boy into a girl, indirectly put it in their heads. Equality extremism, you allow some girls to be guys, switch it over. Oh yeah, and another thing too, if you got this far in this video, yeah, they're talking about toxic masculinity, but they also permit a girl to turn into a guy, all right? But that girl turning into a guy, wouldn't they be guilty of toxic masculinity? If, say, some chick decides that she wants to turn herself into a dude. But I imagine there's probably behavior that she could get into as a dude that would... Where's the line where, say, they become a dude that maybe some of their behaviors start to change, that they don't become guilty of toxic masculinity? Even though they used to be a girl, right? When you're a chick that decides to turn into a dude or identifies as a dude, I don't know, but that culture, maybe they have some kind of laws, or it's just like anybody else you ask, about double standards, whether you ask your own parents, the church, the bigger church, or ask the far liberal stuff, the communist wannabes. Well, okay, why this? Shut up, you're not supposed to ask any questions. This is doesn't fit the narrative. You obviously, they'll blame you that you're on the other side, yada yada, or whatever the fuck it is. But
Raven.